Hey, what's up guys, it's Texmer talking to you here, and today I want to compare the iPhone XS or XS Max against the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max. The iPhone 13 Pro Max actually is filming this video, so I won't be able to hold those two together, but the iPhone 13 Pro Max has been the latest release and my latest phone from Apple, and I gotta tell you, it was and it is still my favorite phone ever. This first month has been incredible, and I gotta tell you, now I'm starting it to compare to my other phones like the iPhone XS or XS Max and the iPhone 12 Pro or Pro Max, so expect videos from those. But in this video I will compare it against the iPhone XS and XS Max. So before I get to it, roll the intro. The iPhone XS features an amazing design. This design is very comfortable when compared to the iPhone 13s or 12s. This design is curved edges and it has glass back, which is not matte like the iPhone 11's forward. This glass back is very glossy and picks up a lot of fingerprints, but it's beautiful to look at. And I can tell you, it feels very premium too. The iPhone XS features the same design as the iPhone X, which in my opinion just felt miles away from the iPhone before that, which was the iPhone 7. The iPhone X features such a futuristic design that we still use the same design nowadays, mainly. Now, the iPhone XS has, can I tell you, a perfect design in my opinion. It's very small, comfortable, and it fits in your hand just perfectly. While the iPhone XS Max might be a little bit bigger, while the same size as the Max models. But the iPhone XS and XS Max, they are very much more comfortable than the iPhone 13s to hold for very long periods of time. One, because they are very much lighter than the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max, and they are much rounder, which makes them a little bit more ergonomic to hold. So when you are holding the iPhone XS, you feel comfortable. It just like feels the parts of your body, you can roll it around on your hand, and it feels very comfortable. The iPhone XS also features a bigger notch when compared to the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max. This notch is bigger, but it's not as deep as the iPhone 13's notch. So you have to prefer. Apple doesn't do anything with the extra display real estate, so you have to make your decision. Do you want a deeper notch but smaller in length, or do you want a not as wide notch but bigger in length? You have to make your choice. Although the 5.8 inches screen on this phone is smaller than the 6.1 inches screen on the 13 Pro, and the 13 Pro Max also features a little bit bigger screen than the iPhone XS Max. So if you want the biggest screen possible, go for the newer model and forget about these phones. Another thing that has improved a lot in these phones is the hardware. No, I'm not talking about the cameras, and no, I'm not talking about the display. Those I will talk about later. What I will talk about is the speakers and overall quality of design and hardware. So the speakers on the iPhone XS Max are good, but they're not nearly as good as the iPhone 13 Pros because their speakers are incredible. Take a listen. And now, listen to the iPhone XS Max. So you can see that the differences between those two are huge. iPhone 13 Pro Max has way louder speakers, which are even clearer than the iPhone XS. So they win in both fronts, which is quite incredible. They have more bass, they are clearer, and they have louder speakers. So the speakers on the iPhone 13 Pro Max are way better. Another thing that is way better is the 5G network capabilities. Although 5G is not as well developed as we wanted to, the 5G modems on the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max are way more reliable than the Intel modems on the iPhone XS and XS Max, because the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro Max feature Qualcomm modems, which are faster, more reliable, and they can pick up better cellular network. So, in my opinion, this is a huge win, not just for the 5G, but for everything else. Now let's talk about the displays. The display on the iPhone XS Max is good, not to say the least. It's not XDR or anything, but it's an OLED panel like the iPhone X, and it's pretty good. It features a good brightness, it's bright everywhere, but when you compare it to the iPhone 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max, it's very dim. Because when you compare those two, the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max feature 1000 nits of peak brightness, while the iPhone XS doesn't. So the iPhone 12s had 800 nits on the OLED panel, while I think that the iPhone XS's featured only 600. This is a huge jump in terms of nits, because to the XS, to the 13 Pro and Pro Max, you have a 400 nit in terms of jump. And it's very noticeable outside when you have sunlight shining through your phone. You can see the iPhone 13 Pro Max perfectly, while the iPhone XS is barely visible. Another thing that's changed is XDR. Now you can play HDR content on your devices, and I think that that's a huge jump when compared to the iPhone XS, so you will notice that difference when jumping from one to another. Also, finally, and the biggest feature for the display is ProMotion. ProMotion is the biggest feature to come to iPhone's displays since they started getting multi-touch. Why? Because ProMotion enables Apple to give the display a variable refresh rate. So now it can go down from 10 Hz to 120, not costing any bit of battery life and giving you the amazing experience that is 120 Hz. It's fluid, it feels like butter when scrolling, it can show you 24 FPS movies, can show you 30 frames per second movies, it's great for editing videos on LumaFusion, it's great for everything. This variable refresh rate display is the best thing that I've ever tried out on an iPhone. It's even more smooth than the iPad Pro's ProMotion, so I love this ProMotion display, feels fast, feels way more smooth, and if you go for the iPhone XS to the iPhone 13 Pro or Pro Max and you use it for a month and you want to go back, you simply can't. The display on the iPhone XS feels choppy and very antique and old tech. So the display, it's a pretty big improvement from the iPhone XS to the iPhone 13 Pro, and if you decide to upgrade, will be one of the biggest or not the biggest camp you will notice differences. The thing that everyone wants to upgrade nowadays is the camera. So the iPhone XS only features two cameras. The XS and XS Max only have a wide camera and a telephoto camera. The telephoto has 2x zoom, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max features three cameras. A wide camera, an ultra-wide camera, which is a new addition when compared to this older model, and a telephoto. While this telephoto is way better than the telephoto from the iPhone XS Max because it has 3x zoom, it has a little bit more faster shutter speeds, and it works better with low light capabilities because it has night mode. While the ultra-wide camera is a completely new addition to this phone when compared to the iPhone XS, and it's way better than the iPhone 12's ultra-wide, so you will have a lot of fun shooting macro photography or ultra-wide pictures. While the main sensor, which is the thing that everyone uses the most, is way bigger on the iPhone 13 Pro when compared to the iPhone XS Max. You can see that the sensor size is huge. It's like night and day difference, and that produces night and day differences on shots. You can see that the differences between those two are just stupidly big, and the iPhone XS cannot produce as good as pictures as the iPhone 13 Pro, mainly on night mode shots, because the iPhone XS doesn't feature any type of night mode capabilities. So the shots look blurry, very bad, and they are not usable at all, while the iPhone 13 Pro shots are amazing and incredible. Another thing that the iPhone 13 Pro has, which is way better portrait mode, and of course portrait video, cinematography video. This mode is very useful for me because I'm a YouTuber. I don't think it will be very useful for you right now, but it's fun to work with and to play with. And finally, video is a big improvement from the iPhone XS Max because the iPhone 13 Pro features an amazing sensor now, which is sensor shift stabilized, and this makes the iPhone 13 Pro Max the best video camera on a phone ever. While the iPhone XS Max also shoots good video when you are using good lighting. The prices. The iPhone 13 Pro Max sells for now at least $1,100, while you can find an iPhone XS Max or XS at around $450–$400, which is a big difference. You can buy two of those phones for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. But in my opinion, you should not go for the iPhone XS, you should go for the iPhone 12 or 12 mini around those price points. You have to look around, find used products and used phones. Do not go for lower than the iPhone 11 right now, and even the iPhone 11 is pretty low, so try to find an 11 Pro or upwards. I think that the iPhone 13 Pro Max is worth it, because next year I will sell it and get the iPhone 14 and recoup all of the costs that I had, or at least lose only $100 or $200. Another thing that's changed a lot since the release of the iPhone XS Max, and you will notice the most is the battery life, because the battery life on the iPhone XS Max is trash. Even on the iPhone XS Max, which is the bigger size model, the battery life is pretty bad. The iPhone XS is not usable, the battery life is very bad, and if you want to go for a used model, it's even worse. It gets very hot, it doesn't last half of the day, while the iPhone XS Max maybe lasts you until 5 p.m, maybe not, depending on your use. The iPhone XS generation battery is pretty bad, it wasn't good since the beginning, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max and 13 Pro feature the best battery life ever on a phone. Respectively, you have 8 hours battery life on the iPhone 13 Pro and 10 hours of battery life on the iPhone 13 Pro Max of usable time in a day. So you can expect to end your day with 50 to 60% of battery on these phones, while on the iPhone XS you can expect to charge them twice a day. But of course, that's only a big part of a phone, and that's why I'm telling you that the iPhone XS in 2021 is not worth it to buy. But if you have an iPhone XS and you are asking yourself, should I upgrade to the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max? Well, you should, because it's way worth it to get this amazing phone. The jump is worth the price you have to pay, and I think, in my opinion right now, if you are looking to buy a phone and you are thinking to yourself, is it worth it to go for the 13 Pro Max, or should I hold for my phone for one more year and buy the 14? Well, do you need a new phone? If you want a new phone, or do you need a new phone, definitely buy the 13 Pro Max. It's time to upgrade. But if you don't, and if you are completely fine with your iPhone XS, you don't have problems with the display, battery life, cameras, then hold on the most you can, because you will save the most amount of money. But again, that's no fun to talk about in a video. If you want an iPhone XS right now, I wouldn't advise you, do not buy the iPhone XS 11 Pro upwards, because the thing is, you are spending less money, but you are getting a lot less. A very bad battery life, not as good cameras, and you are paying still a lot of money. So try to find an 11 Pro. It's not as expensive as you think. You can find it around $500 to $600 used, and it's much better phone than the iPhone XS these days. Mainly the iPhone 11 Pro Max, because the battery life on that is huge, and it's still as good, or almost as good, as the iPhone 13 Pro Max. It's way better than the iPhone 12 Pro Max battery, by the way. So 11 Pro or Pro Max is a way better choice than the iPhone XS or XS Max. So this was the video. What are your thoughts? Do you have an iPhone XS Max or XS? Are you going to upgrade to the 13 Pro or Pro Max, or are you keeping your phone for one more year? Tell me in the comments down below. And while you're there, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Follow my social networks, Twitter and Instagram. And this was Tech Sumer talking to you here. Bye.